Guys ready? We call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Meeting's being recorded live for CNET's YouTube channel. Board of Supervisors held an executive session on May 5th, 2025 at 1 p.m. regarding litigation on the Halfmoon Acres subdivision. Next up is public comments. Anybody have anything on or off the agenda that they want to speak about? Mr. Govey, please.
My name's Govey, 144 Windy Pines Lane, Warriors Mark, but really living here. So I want to thank Chuck for picking up stuff for the Watershed Cleanup Day. Over 600 people participated. Fabulous turnout, and I don't know what the final weight was. That I haven't heard it, but when I hear it, I'll share it. The other thing that I want to thank the crew for being on call for whatever they needed to do to help over the crazy weather and the trees and all of that. So thank you for all the work that you did over that. And the other thing, and these are for Amy, is our Centered Outdoors for Clearwater Conservancy. There was a walk this past Sunday at Coleraine. Next Sunday is out at Fisherman's Paradise. It's a Mother's Day walk. It's for wildflowers, but there's three different things. There's a poster, there's a schedule that's easy to put in your car, and then there's passports. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else? Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Wayne Foster. I live in Centennial Hills. And I just want to say it's that time of year again for the Center Gives 2025. It's only a week away. And the Port Allegheny, or the Port Matilda EMS, is hoping for another great effort from our friends and neighbors in Stormstown. Even though the EMS is all the way over the mountain in Port Matilda, it's the residents of Stormstown that come through again and again with the most support for the service. With your help, over the past 2 years, we provided new washers and dryers and safety equipment for the EMTs. But the need for funds never lessens. Even with grants and for new vehicles and municipal support from the local government contributions, operating costs require the help of donations to fill in the gaps. I want to just add that it's the help of Halfmoon residents, such as Susan Persons, who's our grant writer, Amy Smith, who helped with the grants for one of the vehicles, Clifford Neal also worked on securing grants, and Scott Conklin, our representative, was able to get some grants, and we now have 2 new ambulances and a new non-emergency van. So spread the word and ask your neighbors to support the Port Matilda EMS on May 14th and 15th. The donating is easy and secure. There's links on the Port Matilda Facebook page. There's a use of the QR code or the website centergives.org. There's a phone number that's also available. I have some little kind of papers with details of these information that I'll leave a few over here that if anybody wants to pick one up. It's also kind of a save the date and some other stuff. All the money that's donated is tax deductible, and the money stays locally in Center County. Something new this year to celebrate the final hours of Center Gives. Ed at the original Storms Brothers Pizza in Stormstown is helping us host a watch party from 5 to 8 p.m. the final night on Thursday, May 15th. We're inviting everybody, especially Halfmoon Township residents, come help us go out with a bang. There'll be food specials, tours of the ambulances, new ambulances, and the van. There'll be giveaways, people making statements, and we'll have entertainment by Clifford Neal, our local resident, and hopefully we'll have some Clifties in attendance. So start thinking of the song requests that you'd like to hear. And thanks so much for everyone here for their past support of the Port Matilda EMS, and join us for a fun evening. It's to be rain or shine, so let's hope that show them that Halfmoon Township gets the job done. And that's thank you from Port Matilda EMS. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2025?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next up is approval of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. With that, if there's no objection, I was going to move Ms. Hahn up to the CNET annual presentation for next, because I know you'd probably like to go home.
You are now my favorite municipality.
Wow.
We're going to turn this into a table for two. Okay. Yeah, and these, there we go.
Hi, I'm Karen Miller. I'm the Halfmoon Township representative for CNET. And we're starting out with the 2024 highlights for CNET. There were 527 programs produced by CNET staff in 2024. The membership increased to 17 members with the addition of CATA. And we also instituted a closed captioning initiative begun in February of 2024. The service amount for that was $70 per hour, and currently 14 of the 17 members have opted for the service. I'm going to turn it off to Cindy.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Hahn, Executive Director of CNET.
I'm trying to get this together.
You're trying. Oh my. Okay. The programming in 2024 for Halfmoon consisted of 13 regular supervisors meetings, 1 supervisors and open space preservation board joint meeting, and 1 budget meeting. So you sponsored a total of 15 programs. The 15 programs represents right around 2.9% of all of our programming by CNET members. Previously in 2023, it had been 2.7%. So just a very slight increase, but your programming is really very consistent from year to year. This graph shows you 20 through 2024, the programs that you have sponsored for CNET coverage. And the 5-year period of time your programming represents about 3.75% of all of our members' programming over that 5-year period of time. Now, that is actually down from 2019 through 2023 because you did have less meetings in 23 and 24 for us to cover. Our funding formula is determined by a 5-year rolling average. So 2020 through 2024 will determine your 2026 dues. I wanted to say something about funding that I think is important. CNET is funded primarily by municipal franchise fees from the cable companies. So there's no taxpayer dollars which go to support us. Your franchise fees last year from Comcast were about $34,000. Your CNET dues were right around $17,000. In addition, all of our capital costs are paid for by Comcast subscriber user fees. And so once again, no tax dollars go to buy our equipment either. It's mostly cable company support. This is a graph of all of our members over the past 5 years, and you can see that arrow pointing down there to Halfmoon Township. So you can watch us, of course, on CNET Channel 7. We also stream your meetings live on YouTube. On Channel 7, they are not live, but they rebroadcast Saturday at 8 o'clock, Monday at 1, Tuesday at 6 a.m., and for the insomniacs, Wednesday at 1 a.m. The programs on our website on cnet1.org have chaptered and clickable agenda items. Right now, those are available for 16 months, but we will be increasing that to keeping them up for 18, possibly 24 months. We have purchased more storage to be able to do that. And all of the programming online is indexed by agenda item and closed captioned. You can see there's a large number of meetings that we are currently live streaming on YouTube. All of our municipal members, our county commissioners, the COG General Forum, and both of our school districts stream, along with school district sporting events and graduation. We are available to view on Roku, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, Amazon Fire, I should say, and Apple TV. We have made short video tutorials for people who do want to use those platforms to go online, and the tutorials will walk you through step by step how to find CNET on those different platforms. I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of how your meetings are doing in terms of viewing on cnet1.org. Over the past 14 months, there's an average of 51 views per meeting, an additional 96 views on YouTube. So a combined average of 147 views per meeting. You do need to keep in mind, of course, that these do not account for television views on Comcast at all. Comcast will not release that data to us. It's considered proprietary, but these are online views. I wanted to just, because it's that year again, make a pitch for our candidate interviews. We produce them every primary and general election. We invite candidates for federal, state, and local offices. They are conducted by local journalists. Most recently, Ann Danahy of WPSU and Jeff Rushton of statecollege.com, and they are available to view on cable and online at cnet1.org. And that is all I have for you. I did put some riveting reading material at your seats tonight, the annual report. And any questions you may have, I'll be happy to try.
Appreciate you coming out, Cindy, and the information. It's a great service, and it's good to have all the data too that backs it up. So thank you.
You said about additional shows, or keeping them on for, 18 or possibly 24. Was that computer space, or?
Yeah, exactly. So right now, we're at a point right now, we have about 14 months, and then the older meetings have to come down. We have so much space available to us from our host, our online host. We have purchased more space very recently, and so we hope to be able to keep them on and build up possibly to a full 24 months.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Must be doing a good job because there's no complaints.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, and we appreciate all your support over the years. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next up, clarification of residential zoning district motion from April 10th, 2025 agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may, this was the motion that I made, and I'd like to clarify, I guess, the word and intent. When I made the motion, it was to permanently table the animal portion, or the entire proposal. You had suggested an amendment to my motion, splitting off the setbacks from the animal part of the ordinance. We left it stand, as I recall, for the animal part of the ordinance, no changes to the current zoning wording. And with regard to setbacks, we had discussed everything here except fence. We had discussed fence setbacks, but we did not vote on fence setbacks. So I don't have a difficulty with a small setback on side and rear. I think other members of the board may have had an objection to significant setbacks. With regard to the front setback, that concerns me with regard to fencing, because fencing is not a permanent structure. And secondly, if you have a 50-foot setback from the center of the road, that would, if someone wants to put up a fence, that would take a major portion of their property and put it on the other side of the fence. So I know that there is a need to be away from the edge of the road for the purposes of plowing and maintenance, utility considerations. There's also another restriction in terms of how far back you can set it, and that is U.S. Postal Service. They're the ones that decide how far back you can set your mailbox. So all things considered, I think a minor setback, and I think this is something we could discuss at another time, or even tonight if you want to. But in terms of the front setback, I'm concerned that 50 feet is way excessive. And I think it needs to be a lot less than that. I don't know, maybe, and it's a matter of criteria. When we talk about from the center of the road, that's one thing. When we talk about from the edge of the paved road, that's another thing. Or if we talk about from the property line, that's a third criteria, you know. So if we want to use the edge of the road, we could do that. Or if we want to use the property line, the front property line, that's another possibility. And I understand the concern about needing setback so that our public works people can plow the roads and maintain the roads, maintain the berms, and all the things that they have to do. And then there's some utility considerations too. But I'm concerned, I think 50% or 50 feet from the center of the road for a fence is excessive.
This isn't fence, this is the setbacks for
There's 50
structures.
Well, it says
No.
from center line of road
Last
for front
line.
fencing and
Last
5
line,
feet
Patty.
from the property line for side and rear fencing. And I thought we dropped all that when the motion was paid. but it
The
was-
motion had nothing to do with fencing.
Right, we didn't talk about it. We were just getting rid of all the Part B stuff.
What I'm offering is if we wanted to set something reasonable, I think we could do that tonight if everybody wants to do it. I mean, I had made the motion, I was happy with the motion, and I think in terms of animal definitions and things like that, I think that the impervious coverage and both the impervious coverage, surface coverage as well as structure coverage, makes sense.
Right.
That's a clarification of the definition of coverage. But I don't think the animal definitions are necessary.
Well, in the interest of expediency, and maybe the board can do it, but I'd like to take and get the revisions that we talked about in the ordinance out to the attorney as soon as possible. I don't really want to wait another.
But one thing I don't want to carry over tonight, Dave, is the 50-foot front setback for fencing.
Well, what I was going to suggest is, why don't we just dump the fencing standard there completely, and we can talk about that at a future point.
Yeah, we can.
If anybody, I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I don't know how big of a problem this is in the township.
Well, I don't know, but like I said, I would like to get the impervious stuff dealt with and the regular setbacks put in
I would like,
place.
I had moved to permanently table the animal part of the motion, and I would like that to stand, because we all voted on that, and we had made no changes to the current ordinance.
Well, I think the animal part is just putting back in what was there originally, right? Because it's just the.
Right, and we're allowing animals, which is,
But we're
Right.
not defining.
but if we're allowing animals, shouldn't we have some kind of a fencing,
No, this is just for.
definition?
Well, this is really, they're two separate things.
Yeah.
There is a fencing requirement in certain cases for the keeping of domestic livestock, but that's not part of the R1 ordinance. If we,
Which just says with no restriction.
right, and that's where we left it, and that's what we voted
Yeah.
on. And I believe that we should not have definitions of the animals. Other parts of that are okay as far as impervious surface, but the fence setback, I think we need to resolve that differently, because I think we're taking too much land use from the property owners in R1. And that was what this whole discussion was about last meeting.
Right.
So I don't want to go back there again and rehash that or add anything to this. I know what my motion is. I made the motion and we voted to approve it.
But aren't some of our setbacks anyways 50 feet from the center of the road? Like,
No, well, it used to
Just for
be,
along the road?
habitable structures only.
No, but I meant,
in the past.
yeah,
It had gone from 45 feet to as much as 60 feet or 100, it used to be 125 along 550 on new developments. I don't know what happened to that, but here's where we are.
And residential side setbacks used to be 25 and were reduced to 15, and I'm sure I know why that was done, because a lot of people complained about it.
Well,
And I don't think we
at
need to
this
open
point,
up
it's
old wounds.
it's not an advertised ordinance.
let's just take that last part off.
I was gonna say, why don't we just scratch the last line? The board can talk about that.
But I
If we
also
want-
want to scratch the animal definitions from here too, because that was not part of the motion
There's
that was
no animal
approved.
Well, there
definitions in
was
there.
a deficiency on it because people wanted to be able to keep domestic livestock, and we couldn't because we wiped that out by mistake.
Well, then explain to me what it means to add a definition for non-commercial keeping of domestic livestock and honeybees. Explain to me why that has to be there, why that revision has to be there.
Well, it says they're not restricted.
But they're,
You're just
it's
explaining.
allowing them.
So that means it's stated so
So-
that they're allowed.
So we didn't have a definition of animals before? So now we have to define animals? I mean,
No.
We did have
I
a
don't see the
definition for
point.
non-commercial domestic livestock. If you want to remove it, that's.
I want to remove it.
Okay.
It's my
There's-
motion. I
Are
want to
you
remove it.
saying that simply stating non-commercial keeping of livestock and honeybees is a definition? Because that's it's stated here, that they're not restricted, meaning that they're allowed.
Right, but I don't want to be defining specific animals that are allowed. If there's no restrictions, there's no reason to define the animals, the kinds of animals.
That's not defined.
This is changing my motion. I did not move to do this. I moved to permanently table the animal aspect of the proposed ordinance change. And that was voted on and approved. And I want to maintain that. I don't want it redefined. I don't want another motion I don't want the motion to change. We voted on that. And I think that's only fair. And I don't see the impact of it either way. If there is a legal reason why we have to do that, I asked the question. What is that reason?
So where do you want your motion to start? Where it says revised lot coverage?
No, okay. I want the motion to, in terms of the keeping of non-domestic livestock, to go back to the original, to continue with the original ordinance without any changes. That was the meat and the purpose of the motion, was to permanently table that.
Can I make a suggestion? I
Sure.
know you got a motion on the floor here, nobody seconded it yet, but what I'm gonna recommend is, why don't you write it up exactly how you wanna do it? Because I don't have the ordinance in front of me. I know we made some changes at the last meeting, but I don't like trying to do legal things on the cuff.
No, I understand that, Dave, but what I'm saying is simply remove the part that wasn't in the motion
That's what I'm asking.
and remove the part that is not in the current ordinance. That's all I'm asking. And that was the motion that was approved. I'm not making a new motion.
No, I
Revised.
know, but I don't have all the stuff in front of me, and it's hard for me to sit there and say yay or nay, because Amy needs to know exactly what we're doing.
Okay, then I'll read it. Move to add the non-commercial keeping of domestic livestock and honeybees with no restrictions on the lot size. Revise lot coverage to lot structure coverage and impervious coverage to impervious surface coverage. Setbacks will be front 50 feet from the center of the road, 75 feet from the center of the road for state roads. 50 feet is for feeder or local roads. 30 feet from the side of property line for habitable structures. 15 feet from side of property line for non-habitable structures. 30 feet from the rear property line for habitable structures. 15 feet for rear property line for non-habitable structures. And that's it.
And that's it.
Okay.
Simple.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions by the board? Does everybody understand? Generally.
Not really. Can you read that again?
Okay.
All he's doing is taking out, start where it says add a definition for non-commercial. He's taking that out.
So you've taken out, add a definition.
Yeah, until you get to, and then it picks up again at revised lot coverage. Then the rest of that is all in except for the last sentence that starts 50 feet from center of road.
That's for fencing, in other words.
Any other questions? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, next up, Planning Commission member interviews. There's John Maitland and Tim Kelsey. Are either one of those two individuals here tonight? You want to take the hot seat for a minute?
Hi, I'm Tim Kelsey, live 637 Loveville Road, Williamsburg. appreciate being considered to join the Planning Commission.
All right. I read your letter, responses to the questions. Any particular reason why you're interested?
I've been interested in being in the Planning Commission for many years. As I said in my documents, I worked for 20-some years for Penn State Extension, specifically in the area of local government, land use, rural economic development. Did a lot of educational programs, did training with local government officials, land use issues, planning commissions, others. I've had a long-run interest in land use. I've lived in Halfmoon Township since 1993. Really like the rural character of the community, and I think it's really important to maintain a balance of growth and keep the rural nature here. I've been interested in being on the Planning Commission, but because of work responsibilities and the age of my kids, I realized the evening meetings wouldn't fit with my schedule. And I've gotten to the stage in my career, and kids are old enough that it is possible for me to serve if there's an interest in that.
How do you feel about public sewer?
About what?
Public sewer.
It can be a challenge. I think that's one of the things I mentioned in my note, that the implementing public sewage can be extremely expensive, and it can have major impacts on existing residents, existing properties, if they're having to run public sewage past them. I think one of the challenges here in the township is a lot of the properties are on-lot septic, on-lot water. Our own property is the same, and so trying to maintain a balance of growth, but yet in a way that doesn't get to the tipping point where we need to have public sewage, public water.
Anybody else have a question?
Thank you for applying. Everything was, for both candidates, was very nice. The questions were answered that we had asked for, and applications were filled out, and had a lot of relevant experience. So thank you for your interest.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You have anything else to add?
No, thank you for considering it.
Okay. I don't think Mr. Maitland's here tonight.
Appear to be on Zoom yet.
He is stuck at an airport right now, trying to fly back from Canada.
That doesn't sound like any fun at all.
Yeah, so he's probably in the air right now. He was
Okay.
hoping to be in Harrisburg by 7:30, but we had a delay.
You want to fill in for him, or?
I can read what he wrote.
Yeah.
And you can ask some questions I may be able to answer, but otherwise.
No, we appreciate.
How do you feel about public sewer?
I guess we'll have to ask him about that, so.
We will. He's well versed in a lot of these areas.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, with the power outage last week, my understanding is the questions didn't go out to the candidates until Monday. And I think we should give consideration to that. People can't always be where they need to be. But I think I don't think we need to be hasty in our decision or to appoint somebody. I think we could hold this over at the next meeting.
I'd be okay with that.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have everything that we've asked for, and I think we have two very qualified candidates, and I move that we appoint Tim Kelsey to the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay,
We do
moved and
have all the
second.
information on hand from both candidates.
And I move to appoint John Maitland
Well, we have to vote on this
to
one
the
first.
vacant planning commission
All right,
position.
well, one motion at a time here, so. All right, any discussion by the board on the motion in question? Call for the question. All those in favor of appointing Tim Kelsey to the Planning Commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey.
When's our next Planning Commission meeting?
It will be the 21st of this month.
21st of May, Amy?
Of May, yeah.
That's what, 7 PM?
6
PM?
6 p.m.
They're doing it early, so it disrupts your dinner.
That's your.
Okay, welcome aboard. Next up, House rezoning request.
Thank you. My name's Tom Levine. I'm an engineer from Blair County. I represent Dawn, who's here to my right. On or about April 18th, we submitted a request for a change to the zoning map. Do you have this on your screen? Can you by any chance? Is this in your packet? Mr. Houts, he owns, among other things, the self-storage on the end of TLD Circle. There's a 12 acres that, if she could get this called up, would be advantageous for you to see between, I think it's called Granny Lane, and the existing storage facility that he owns, fee simple. I started back in 2023 laying out some additional storage by land development, and there it is, beautiful. Unbeknownst to me and some personal issues in my family, I was not able to timely file the land development plan, and I found out here in March that in January, you folks made some modification to your zoning ordinance. And the provisions that I was working under for, I believe it's a limited industrial zone for agricultural acres over 10 acres, dropped from the requirements. So the proposed land development that we are currently working on in that 12-acre piece of ground currently doesn't fit the zoning ordinance because of those changes that were made in January. So we looked at a lot of different options and we settled on, we think that the best option would be to request of the Board of Supervisors to consider rezoning that 12 acres from agriculture to limited industrial, or that, I'll call it that purple shade, for a couple of reasons. One, it fits the general character of my client's property, and that's been his intent. And two, it appears that it better fits the overall zoning of the township. That purplish zone seems to make logical sense. That if we'd been, or had I been more in touch with what was happening at the end of 2024, I'd been up here raising my hands. Hey, wait, stop. Don't change the ordinance yet. Let us get this plan filed. But that didn't happen, so. Are there any questions of me at this point
I have a
about my
couple
request?
questions.
Sure.
The first question is, what zoning changes occurred at the end of 2024?
To the A1 district.
Okay, that was the big lengthy discussion with through the planning commission. That was the ag zoning issues you were dealing with last year, right? So how does that impact this? How did it result in not being able to do what you wanted to do without a change to the?
The exact wording was, if you had over 5 acres bordering 550, you could use it for light industrial. Light industrial could be used for storage, was the #1 thing under the old ordinance. You got rid of the ordinance that said if you have over 5 acres bordering 550, you can use it for limited industrial. That's what you got rid of, and that's what we were building it under the old ordinance, where you could use it for limited industrial if you bordered 550 with that amount of acreage.
I guess I have, the other question is, why was this zoned agricultural in the first place?
We don't know.
I mean, was it because at that time, when zoning was initiated, when we first created the zoning for the township in 2005?
I can shed some light on
Well,
that.
my question is, was any of the, it wasn't being used for this purpose at that time, I guess. Is that correct?
It wasn't.
Okay. Good then.
So that there was a curative amendment filed back in the late, or early 90s, late 80s by the Browns, the Brown Town group up there, that there was no place for limited light industrial. And obviously Brown's busing is all over there where it says L1. There's another industrial property in the back. And so as a result, the Board of Supervisors agreed to change the zoning there. I'm not sure why the piece along Granny Lane up to TLD wasn't changed. I think originally there was like a motorcycle racetrack there for a while, but that may have been way before you had it even. Or did you do that? I can't remember.
We did that. The reason it wasn't zoned is because, let me give you a good guess. At that time, the Browns would have had to do a subdivision, do a septic, the whole, to make it a building lot. So they actually made it a non-building lot. So over the last few years, I've been changing that, and I have made it a building lot now. If you've seen the information we had sent, we have a septic approved on it, we got the building lot approved on it, and all those things weren't done prior to because of the expense. That's why they didn't follow through.
I'd say it's a good guess. Fair enough, but yeah, the whole Granny Lane section there, of course, that was all out Sawmill Road, that was all part of the Brown Farm at one time, so the limited light industrial or light industrials, just that small space there. But
Mr. Chair, I have a question, just for reference. So the purple line just to the left of that, is that where the current storage units are?
that's, yeah,
Okay, so the 12.72 currently has 0 storage units on it.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
And that used to be light industrial?
no, that never was.
It never was?
That was old
Okay.
Jack.
But I can't, it just doesn't make sense to me what this chunk of,
Well, thank you. That's why we're here, because we agree with you.
well, I mean, I'm just saying that it doesn't, so I guess the other concern is when you change zoning maps, you know, in some cases it can be spot zoning, in other cases it isn't. And it's been explained to me that this is not considered spot zoning, so.
This would not be because of the other properties that are zoned light industrial adjoining it.
Okay, that's all I have.
That's our only light industrial zone in the township. And you can see our heavy industrial is the M1 over there,
Okay,
which encompasses part of one property.
okay, I just wanted to understand it.
Thank you. So we filed it, and we're here tonight to answer any questions. I believe protocol will be it goes to those planning commissions, county and local.
Well, it'll go to Center Region
Our
Planning.
planning
Right,
commission
yes.
and the zoning
So
office.
could you clarify again what you are asking for?
We've requested that 12 acres zoning be changed from agriculture to
To the light industrial?
light, is it L1 or?
L1, yeah.
L1, to L1, that's been our request.
Thank you.
Is there some
Question in the
wetlands-
back
Is there
there.
some wetlands involved in that area?
Yes.
And how's that impact that?
Well, obviously, in that region that is already zoned L1, that's in that purple, there's wetlands there too. So once you change land use, it doesn't preclude you from meeting all the other requirements and regulations.
But
Obviously, we will not be building anything in the wetlands.
I was gonna say, they won't be allowed to fill the wetlands in, so.
Is that what the orange and the blue spot are?
I believe so, yeah.
Looks
I
like
think
a
I think
stream,
they're your overlay zones for,
or stormwater, that or
Yeah.
stream.
The dark orange, I think, is the flood area.
Flood area.
And
yeah.
those are little lakes or little ponds or something?
Is there potential in the future for additional land? I'm not sure that you own any more in that area. So any potential in the future for additional land in that area that's going to be interested in the same rezoning change?
No.
no.
And just to clarify, there was a wetland delineation done on that piece of property. So there'll only be the top 6 acres of it, and the rest will be left for the open space.
You'll
For
see,
absorption.
we'll be bringing the plan that's done to you once the zoning is issued, and then you'll be able to see the wetland area and how we buffered it.
Are you using the original wetland delineation? It was done, what, maybe 20 years ago? Or
2015.
2015, okay. It's
And-
newer than I thought it was.
And what is your plan for between, I assume you're gonna put storage units there? I assume that's the intent. So what is your plan for where their storage units are and then the protection of the wetland area? What is your plan for making sure that, because you're gonna have impervious surfaces?
Right.
So when you're looking at runoff, if there's gonna be vehicles up there or storage of items to protect those wetlands because it kind of runs
Right.
downhill, so.
Great
towards
question.
wetlands.
The answer to your question is our stormwater management system is sited between the wetlands and the new storage areas. There's been some recent changes in the NIPD's stormwater permitting requirements, so there's ample BMP buffered areas. Once we get to that point, I'll present the plans and we'll have ample time to look at that and I can explain it to you in great detail.
Mr. Levine, do you have any other experience working with wetlands or wetland sites?
Unfortunately, yes.
Could you enlighten us a little bit?
In 2025, a jurisdictional wetland, and that would be what Mr. Foreman identified on this property in 2015, is part of the waters of the Commonwealth for permitting purposes. So for myself and Mr. Houts, our plan is just to avoid them, period. Because asking for permission from DEP and the Corps of Engineers is a lot of energy. And the bottom line is you have to have a real good reason to do it. And land development is not necessarily a good enough reason. So when you see our plan, you'll see where the jurisdictional wetlands are identified, and we're not doing anything there. We're putting up a fence around it so that it can be properly monumented, so when the work's done, nobody gets carried away and gets in there by accident. And so all of our work will be proposed in the upland portion of the property.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
This is just another step in the process, right?
Yeah.
You have to do all the design, a lot of design work yet.
Yes.
Well, it would have to be rezoned too, right?
Well, that's what they're here for,
Yeah.
rezoning
But that will
requests
come
first.
through the planning
Has-
commission, right?
Right.
Yeah, it
right.
has to go
Okay.
through
Right.
that.
Has to go
But
through
we
that
would make a
process.
formal recommendation to send it before the planning commission and the planning agency to make recommendations on the zoning request.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we forward a rezoning request to the planning commission, Center Region Planning Agency and zoning officer for review and make recommendation.
Do I hear a second? Moved and second. Any other discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Well, thanks for
Chairman,
coming
may
in.
we be excused?
Sure. Thanks for coming down and explaining that, because I know that it would throw a lot of confusion out, so. All right, next up. 2025 Planning Commission Work Plan.
Mr. Chair, I move that we not revise the work plan for the planning commission and redirect the planning, and direct the planning commission to continue working on the 21 to 26 work plan.
Okay, I have a motion. We have a second.
I will second that.
Moving
Motion's
second.
already in- Or the actions are already in process, so I think it's great. Keep going.
Okay, I got a question, and maybe I'll just ask Amy since she's sitting here. What else are we looking at tackling in the next year for the planning commission?
Well, yeah, as far as the zoning or,
Well, relative to our work plan here for the planning commission.
I guess what's left on the work plan, because you've been working on it since '21, right?
right, but I haven't looked past the zoning
Oh,
for a
okay.
while, so.
So there's more, a little more
There-
left.
Pardon?
There's more zoning left, and then there might be a
Yeah,
couple other
just a
items on the
little-
work plan.
just we want to talk about steep slopes.
So you're almost through the zoning?
We're almost through the zoning, yes.
I mean, you guys have made significant progress on the plan already.
Oh, yes.
So what's
the
wrong with
planning commission-
updating the plan, not scrapping the plan, but what's wrong with taking a fresh look at the plan?
Well, that's what we would
I
do
mean,
in
that-
26 after they have what they have already there
Yeah, but
completed.
you've got new people on the planning commission. You just appointed another person to the planning commission, Tim. So what's the problem with taking a review now of the existing plan? I mean,
I don't-
is it hard and fast that we have to continue to, or are there other ideas that need to be
Well, do you still have
considered?
enough work for more than a year on it? I guess that's.
Yeah,
you're still
because
working
the
on it.
official map's still on there. I wish I would have printed it out.
Okay.
All I can think of.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
That's
I
okay.
thought maybe you knew off the top of your head.
Well, we have a motion on the table.
But when I hear not changing a strategic plan, what that means to me is that you're going to continue to, the plan commission would continue to go forward with the plan as it's already written and the goals that are already
this-
established without any consideration for any changes. I don't see a problem with modifying a plan.
Well, I think if they want changes,
Or
they'll
at least
ask.
reviewing it to see if it needs to be modified. And then if modifications are necessary or in order, then make those changes because you have new people there and you have new ideas. And we're talking about a plan that existed in 2021.
Well, this is
That's
a,
a 5-year plan.
Well, I understand what it is, Patty,
Well, then another, when it's done, then they'll do another 5-year plan.
but that doesn't necessarily, we have a motion before us that we could decide to modify the plan or to keep the plan. And my vote would be to modify the plan, or at least look at it. Not necessarily, if it's a good plan, fine. But if the people that are currently on the planning commission think that maybe some revisions to that plan should occur, we should allow for that.
Well, they could let us know. I think this was from
it's being inflexible
staff.
considering the changes that occur over time. I mean, I've done a lot of strategic planning in my career, and I just don't think that you should be hard and fast on something. This was started during COVID too, so I think there are issues with holding hard and fast on something and not being flexible. That's all I'm saying.
I think staff has put forth a considerable amount of time
I'm sure they
already
have.
into the plan, and so I'd hate to disrupt and have to redo a lot of work that the staff has already put into the 5-year plan, that it would be beneficial for everybody's time and efficiencies to finish the current 5-year plan, and then we can take a look and see what other
Okay.
additions or plans need to be made.
anybody else? I personally would like to have a strategic meeting with the board, a work session, to sit down and talk about where we're at, what we gotta get done, if there's anything else we need to look at. I don't have a problem with the planning commission continuing to work on directions they were given, but I agree, it's a different board, different planning commission. I know most of what Amy's working on or has worked on is stuff that necessarily needs to get done. But that's just my opinion. Anybody else? Call for the question on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. All right, next up, strategic planning meeting, possible, no. Set up and create a 3 or 5 year strategic plan, and direct staff to begin setting up individual meetings as soon as possible.
Well, I'm not quite sure how this would all work, but I think we should do some planning, have an updated plan. I don't think right now we're following anything, but, it wouldn't hurt to have a plan. But let's start fresh and see where it goes.
Are you making a motion to have a meeting of the
Well,
board, a work
The problem I'm
session?
having here, Dave, is, it gives specific actions, move to create a 3 or 5 year strategic plan. I'm okay with that. Direct staff to begin setting up individual meetings as soon as possible. Is that the way we want to do it, by having individual meetings with individual supervisors?
I don't think it ought to be individual, I think it ought to be a work session from the whole
Well,
board.
work session's different than that. We could do both, but my point is, should we have a discussion about what we want this to look like first? I don't know.
Well, Ron, I like your idea there. Maybe we do the individual, so we get a lot of the stuff out, and then we come back with, then they can compile that, and then we can come back with a work session to work through it all then.
To make our work session the
That's
most
how we've
productive.
done the two in the past, is you get everybody individually.
As long as we
compiled it.
see all the input in that work session, and not, you know, a consensus opinion or something like that. I want to see.
It's basically
The
going to
good,
be
bad,
a
and
questionnaire all 5 of you answer, and your opinion's gonna be out there.
Okay,
Good,
so
bad, or
this is
ugly.
some- we'll see everybody's
And that
comment.
process has worked well in the past.
I don't have a problem with
It
it.
has, if everyone takes it seriously and puts forth an effort, yes, it can be beneficial, yes.
All right, do I hear a motion to?
Yes, I would like to move that move to create a 3 or 5 year strategic plan and direct staff to begin setting up individual meetings as soon as possible.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, next up, fiscal year 2025 open space presentation CPI adjustment.
My only comment, Mr. Chair, is this. I understand the formula for determining this. It's based on CPI of the last, it's like a lagging CPI. Okay, I think that these decisions should be more reflective of current inflation numbers rather than a 12-month average, because a lot of things happen over 12 months. And I think it's too weighted over time. So that's just my opinion. I just wanted to.
I think the economy's gonna get better here real fast, is what I think, but
That's just a comment.
Has this been the way that the CPI has been calculated with
This
it
is set by
before?
your ordinance, so to change
Yeah.
anything, you have to change your ordinance.
Yeah.
we're just officially acknowledging
Yep.
the CPI rate.
Okay,
Do I hear a motion?
so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next up, Mr. Beck. Road project bids.
Yeah, so basically you're seeing this again, because we need to send both projects out, through the formal bidding process, just to stay within our legal limits.
What is the limit now?
So formal bidding process, I think it's 22 or 23,000,
I think it's 23.5.
somewhere.
I know it floats.
Yeah, it typically increases every year, so I always have to go look it back up. But just to make sure we are 100% certain that, we can stay within the confines of law, we wanna make sure that we send both projects out, go through the formal bidding process. It certainly doesn't hurt anything to go that route.
All right.
And just, it's a much cleaner process.
For the sake of the public, you want to just spit out what these projects are?
Sure. So one project would be a fiber mat and a fog seal project to the upper portion of Orchard Road, from where we had stopped paving in 2021, 22, somewhere in that range.
22.
There again, it's not in front of me, but that would be its own project, and then paving of Eve Street.
You're going all the way to the township line, correct? On the Orchard?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, for Orchard. It's a short section that wasn't done before.
In the
What
upper
was that
portion.
not done before?
I can't answer that question.
Strategic plan.
Got it, okay.
Who was,
Yep,
yeah,
So,
thank you.
That was the defined
let's
project.
do it ass backwards.
Yeah,
was-
I know, I
was
couldn't
defined.
figure that out at the time either.
Just to stop?
And
Yep.
there's no other paving projects, besides these two for this year that we are aware of? I mean,
For-
Smith Road widening.
for
but-
any contracted work, correct. This is we were trying to stay small this year, to try to get a couple things done, but still sort of save money as we move forward.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Yeah.
like to move to approve for the advertising for the solicitation of bids for the 2025 road surfacing projects.
Very good. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Beck, also, we were having a brief conversation ahead of time about the controller or whatever? Do we need to put a motion on that for you, or?
We don't have to formally, no.
Okay.
No.
You have answers for everybody?
Yeah, just pulled everybody individually and,
I know it's not terribly expensive.
no, it sounded like consensus was, to purchase the controller that we have to operate that piece of equipment, for roughly $750 and.
Yep.
and we
That's
should
fine.
be- should be
Anything
ready to
else you
go.
want to enlighten us with while you're here?
I think that's it unless you have any further questions for me.
Okay. I don't.
Good.
Do you know when the next bloke's gonna come
Oh.
through and shut the roads down?
I hope it's a long way from now. We have
I want that to
riffraff
happen
next
again.
week. We need to just
That was horrible.
get through that.
All right, Secretary, Treasury report, Secretary's report, or Roadmaster's report. Does anybody have anything to add?
Actually, on riffraff, can we just do it general, because we're adding an additional collection this year, right? Can you just, somebody just give us a brief rundown of what all we can bring to riffraff and who else is coming to pick stuff up?
I'll give you a brief description, because there again, without the list in front of me, I don't wanna.
It's hanging right out here on the board,
Um,
so if anybody wants to look at it.
So,
Thank you.
actually, I figured we'll get together within the next, either tomorrow or Monday, and we'll get the list resent back out on
Do it.
social media and things like that.
Great.
But the biggest change for this year is we had teamed up with Center County Recycling, and they had agreed to take TVs for us. We get questions every year about what to do with TVs, so we had reached out to them just to see what options we had, and they were very willing to work with us. So we'll be collecting TVs and other electronics. Like I said, yeah. There's a whole list of electronics we're able to take.
Wow, that's great.
Just without the
So
list.
they'll haul them out for you and.
We are gonna haul them into
Okay.
them. Yeah. So they're willing to take them for us, but we'll just we'll load them up, and as time permits, the following week we'll get them down to them.
Any kind of
Free of-
TV, right? Even the old CRT units.
Yeah, as far as I understand. Yeah.
I'm surprised how many
Any
people have
electronics,
one.
basically.
Yeah, like I said, there's a long
For
list of
gaming.
electronics,
I have
like
one.
different
Yeah.
computer,
Yeah. They used to-
computers
kids used to
themselves
use
and
it for
other
gaming.
accessory devices.
And what was the other entity that's been there in the past? Are they there this year? Was
Might
it
be
clothing
back to this
donations or
someday.
something?
We've had Goodwill in the past. Amy, did we hear back for sure that Goodwill was,
They said they were coming.
okay.
He didn't say what time they were coming. They usually typically come both days, but I don't think they stay as long on Fridays as we do.
Yeah, because we're open pretty late
I don't have
Friday.
specific times.
The marathon begins on Friday and ends
Yeah.
on
Well,
Saturday.
we're out of town, so
It
my son
is.
will be running the
Yeah,
the old
so
farm.
Friday
but Eric
is,
will be.
we're open from 8 AM to 8 PM, and then Saturday from 8 to 3. Trying to keep hours open a little bit for people that work and things, and it seems like it goes well.
You don't need an appointment, do you?
No, nope.
Anybody else from the board have anything to add for the good of the order before we adjourn?
Excuse me,
Yes.
I wondered what happened to our committee reports. It's been months and there's like nothing linkable to Clifford, like there's nothing for Port Matilda, the firewall, there's nothing
Which
for
reminds
Cog.
me, we gotta get
And I
those.
go through, I don't need them read to me, I'm happy to read them, but there's nothing there.
Well, when you click on it, nothing comes up, or there's nothing to click on?
It just comes
There are
up,
no
there's no
links?
link to anything, there are no reports. There haven't been for months.
I'll ask Amy to check into
I've
that.
been sending mine in, except for this month I did not, because one of my meetings was canceled and the other two, I still need, we're very limited. But I've been sending them in, and I know they've been, and Tammy's were linked this time.
And there are some COG meetings that actually happen on the same
Same
day
day.
as this board meeting,
So they come and fill them up.
so. Although I got it in today, so I'm toying.
Well, I think the question is how they're getting linked, or did something interfere with the
I
links?
don't know, I mean, they're linked on this now. Is there a particular one that wasn't linked that you were looking for?
The only two that were from the parks and from Karen Miller.
No, HR and finance are linked.
No,
Well,
Yes,
finance,
yours,
what,
that's right.
finance just occurred this morning, and HR was on Tuesday, so those reports just got linked today.
okay.
So again, sometimes it's a timing.
Were you saying the other
Right.
COG meeting?
I read the agenda.
Right.
And I clicked
Actually,
on
the Upper Bald
dates.
Eagle Cog isn't even listed on this one.
It's because it's not till next week.
Well, right, it was, yeah, last month's it was on there,
Yeah.
but this month's the meeting is actually got moved because of PSET, so it's actually next week, so there's.
Were the
And that
meetings
would be
linked last
for the
month?
Following month.
It was on last month's, it was linked last month. Last month's meeting was linked.
I guess when I'm reading the agenda, they're wrong. They're just black lines. Black.
Well, as they come in, they're getting linked.
Yeah, sometimes the agenda does go out before the meetings have occurred, or
Well, let me ask
by
you.
the time we've had a time for the report. So as soon as they come in, they get linked.
Let me ask you a question.
Canceled sometimes.
Let me ask a
Yeah.
question. Let's say that what meeting is at the Upper Bald Eagle Halfmoon Cog meeting is after the Board of Supervisors meeting. Or let's say it's, well, yeah, it's after. So when does, what agenda does that get linked to? The next month's agenda of the Board of Supervisors, or does it get linked to the past?
It's linked to the
for
next
future.
one.
Okay, so it gets linked to the next one.
But next month, you're likely to have 2 reports because specifically for Upper Bald Eagle Cog, only because that meeting got changed.
Okay, so that meeting, so it was linked, the last month's meeting was linked
To last month.
to last month's agenda?
Yeah.
Because it occurred before the Board of Supervisors
Correct.
meeting?
Correct.
Well, I just heard that there's no links.
This month's is after.
I understand, but it wasn't just one meeting. There was several that were not linked, so
So
I think
what
we need to
should
look at
happen?
It's the timing of when you check those.
Because we link them as we get them.
Right.
The only place that it stays live is our website. When Amy sends it out, it will not update. So I don't know, are you
Check the
using the website or the listserv?
I click off of the agenda.
So you
Off
go
the
on,
website?
you go on the website, click the agenda.
That should be staying live as we get
I'll
them.
check into it.
Because for instance, I did the finance and human resources this afternoon. But like if these were printed, you can see they weren't linked then. So listserv would not have seen it.
Right, so sometimes when the email goes out to the township, we haven't either had the meeting or the reports aren't done yet.
Correct,
So
but
they're not
in
always-
that case, it should be updated because that's the website.
The website, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, something just occurred to me. Sometimes when Cliff has done previous outdoor events at Brothers Pizza, people bring wine to drink or something when they're ordering food. And realize that this is a dry township. Is there any restrictions on people bringing their own alcohol to an event?
You have to
such as
check
that?
with the Bureau of Alcohol, but I believe BYOB is allowed.
Yeah, I think you just
You
can't.
can't sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, but you can bring your own
Yeah.
wine or
You
something.
can't bring it into a park either, any of our parks.
Right, but it's
Alcohol's
private
prohibited
property,
in
so they're
parks.
bringing it to.
Yeah, if you're going to the pizza place and they're okay with BYOB,
I mean, in
then
my backyard, I
you're all
can.
right, but.
Typically they are.
Maybe there.
If we're having a big party.
that's
But this is a public park, so it's,
Careful, just in
Okay.
case.
yeah, kind of off limits.
Just let's bring your own alcohol.
Yep.
That's part of the business property, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn,
No, someone-
second.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for coming.